All right, everybody, we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the exploratory session of the Freshman Forum. Thanks so much for joining us today. I understand that the earlier portion of Freshman Forum, there were lots of great questions. You all seem to be very engaged, so hopefully that'll continue here for the next 30 minutes or so. My name is Heather Searcy. I'm the Associate Director for Academic Advising in the Students First Office. I have a colleague here with me, Angie. Angie, you want to just introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. My name is Angie Allred. I'm one of the exploratory majors academic advisors in the Students First Office.
So Angie's going to be helping me with the chat. If you all have questions as I work through our presentation, please feel free to send your questions in the chat. Don't feel like you need to wait till the end to ask your questions. And Angie, if you'll just speak up and let me know when there's a question that I can answer. So we're going to go ahead and dive in here. So as you all know, we're talking about advising and registration here today to help prepare you all for registering for the spring 2022 term. And so I've got a little agenda here on the screen to give you an idea of what we're going to cover today. So first, we'll go through scheduling your advising appointment through Starfish, our online scheduling software. Hopefully, many of you are already familiar with that, but just in case you're not, we're going to cover that. We'll talk about how to prepare for your registration advising appointment. We'll cover a couple of our advising tools, DegreeWorks and the class schedule search tool. We've got a couple of tips for troubleshooting as you get registered in case you run into any trouble. We'll also talk a little bit about the withdrawal deadline and give you some final reminders for registration advising. And then at the end, if there are questions that you all didn't get to ask along the way, you can also ask those at the end. So first, let's talk about scheduling through Starfish. So we have a Go link up here at the top of the screen for you. If you're not familiar with how to schedule through Starfish, you can go to that link and there's a how-to guide that walks you through the steps of scheduling with your academic advisor. You can just log in through Starfish. So you could go straight to starfish.uncg.edu and click on My Success Network. And then you just look for your advisor's name and click on the three little dots, and that'll take you to your advisor's schedule. You'll click on schedule and then you can see your advisor's Starfish calendar. And then you can just pick an appointment date and time that works for your schedule. Very important that you mark your calendar with those dates. If you don't see any available appointments, that does not mean that there aren't any available. It just might mean that there aren't available on the day or the week that you have in view. So it's important that you click through the little arrows to get to either the next day or the next week, depending on if you're looking at it on a phone or on a computer. A computer will generally display a full week, whereas phones, I think, typically will display like 1 to 2 days at a time. But our registration advising appointments, they have a tendency to fill up really, really fast. And so depending on how quickly you move when your advisor tells you to schedule your appointment, you may find that you have to click out a couple of weeks, and that's totally fine. But just make sure you click on that arrow. We get lots of emails with questions from students. They're all concerned that we don't have any availability, and that's generally not the case if you just got to click to look at the following week. And Angie, please chime in if I leave anything out or if you want to add anything as I'm talking through this.
Will do.
Okay, so preparing for advising. So hopefully you've had some conversations with your advisors already in your exploratory planning appointment in the first half of the semester. Those are wrapping up this week, but so hopefully you've already kind of got the ball rolling on some of this, or you've gotten the ball rolling in your FYE 101 course if you're in an exploratory section. But we ask that you bring a list of the majors and or minors you're considering pursuing. It's really important that you bring a list of at least 5 courses that you're thinking about for the spring 2022 term. And then any questions or concerns that you want to talk through with your advisor. So when you bring that list of majors and minors, that really helps us help you make sort of the most efficient choices as possible as we're looking through the courses you're thinking about taking in the spring term. So that's a really important piece of the puzzle to be prepared with. And then of course, if you bring 5 classes to your meeting to talk through with your advisor, it frees up a lot of time in our appointment where we don't have to hunt down classes, or at least not 5 classes, and we can spend time talking about other things. So please show up to your advising appointment having done these 3 things. It will be very, very helpful to your advisor, and your meeting will be a little bit more productive.
I would just add real quick, don't worry too much about if your 5 classes are 100% accurate, because that's why you're meeting with an advisor, to make sure you're on the right track. And you're going to see us if you're in an FYE class to prepare you before that meeting too.
Thanks, Angie. The next thing that you can do to prepare for your advising appointment is use DegreeWorks and the class schedule search to find those classes that we just mentioned. And so ideally, the classes that you find to take in the spring 2022 term are going to fulfill remaining MAC requirements, so that your general education requirements, or fulfill potential major requirements, so majors that you think you might be interested in. So hopefully all of the classes that we select together and that you come to your meeting with do one of these 2 things. And we'll talk a little bit more about fulfilling potential major requirements in just a second. So we just pulled a quick screenshot here of your general education requirements, or Minerva's academic curriculum, also known as MAC. So this is just a quick screenshot so that you know kind of what your MAC requirements look like. Again, probably most of you are familiar with this from your FYE classes, but basically you just want to find courses in the class schedule search, which I'll show you in a minute, that are going to fit into these competencies over here. So the left side of your screen right here and the left side of your DegreeWorks report has the name of the competency that you should use to search to find spring 22 classes. And so then also, I mentioned thinking about courses that might apply to majors you may be interested in. That's where the what if reports come into play in DegreeWorks. So DegreeWorks is found in UNC Genie. This is sort of the long way to access DegreeWorks. You can also just go straight to degreeworks.uncg.edu. That's the quicker, most direct route. You may have to enter your UNCG credentials, but you want to access DegreeWorks. And on the left side of the screen, there is a button that says what if. So you'll click on what if, and then you'll select your catalog year. So that would be this academic year, 21-22. And you'll choose your program, your major, and a concentration if applicable. Your major requires a concentration if there's a little asterisk beside it. And then you just click process what if. So it's a great way to, I describe it as trying on a major. So it's a great way to see the courses that you are registered for or the courses that you have credit for and how they might plug in to a major that you're considering. So on the next slide here, we just have a quick screen grab of a what if analysis for a psychology major, just to give you a little glimpse and an idea of kind of what it might look like. But really helpful for you all to take a look at what if analyses for the majors that you're considering, majors and or minors, and come with some courses that you may want to explore in those major areas. Come to your meeting with those prepared. Okay, the next thing that we're going to talk about is your class schedule search. So this is the tool where you're going to search for classes really. This semester probably is when you're going to use it most heavily if you're going to start searching for courses now. I think you may have heard of another tool, a new tool called Schedule Hero. And so you'll be learning lots more about that in the next week or 2. But for now, we're going to talk about the class schedule search. And so you will go to UNC Genie again to access this tool. Generally, for everything else just about that you do in UNC Genie, you would enter the secure area. We don't want you to do that to access the class schedule search. You're just going to click on class schedule halfway down that main menu. So don't log in, just click class schedule. and then you'll select the upcoming term, which is spring 2022. Right now, it'll say view only beside it. That just means that registration has not opened up for anybody yet. And then it brings you to a page where you can search by subject or general education attributes, which would be the MAC competencies that I mentioned on your DegreeWorks, the left side of your DegreeWorks. So this is just a screenshot of what your results might look like. So in this case, it looks like we searched specifically for Psychology 121. And so when you're looking at these classes, if you're looking at the class schedule search, always a good idea to click on the title on the far left over here. When you click on that, it's going to have so much helpful information in there, including a description of the course that you're thinking about taking. There will be information about the instructor, where it meets, what days of the week, which you can see at a glance here. But when you click on the title, it includes just a lot more information and a little bit easier to read depending on what screen you're looking at these results on. Especially if you're looking at these results on a screen that is not widescreen, it makes it a lot easier to just click on the title. Also, when you click on the title of a course, you can learn about prerequisites, you can learn about co-requisites, so courses that you must take before you can take this course, or courses that you must take along with this course. Lots of helpful information in there. So anytime you're looking at a class you might want to take, always click on the title to learn more about it. And again, you can search by subject, like we did in this example here, was a search for Psych 121. You can also type in anything from your DegreeWorks report that starts with MAC, and it'll bring up results for you that satisfy whatever MAC attribute you searched by. And then once Schedule Hero is rolled out for you all to access, you can use that tool to search for classes in a similar way. But again, we're going to show that to you in your exploratory FYE 101 courses. We will show that to you in the computer lab within the next couple of weeks, I believe. And we will make sure that you know what you're doing, especially in your advising appointments with your exploratory majors advisors. Angie, are there questions there that I can address?
No questions so far.
Okay. All right, so just a little troubleshooting, a little bit of advice. Just stay calm. I think students, first year students in particular, have a tendency to panic a little bit. You maybe have heard things from upperclassmen about how registration can be stressful. We just want to emphasize it's not that serious. It's important that you're prepared. It's important that you're ready. But we will make sure that you're all set. You know exactly what you're doing. So just stay calm and it will go just fine. And just a reminder to use your resources. So this screenshot here on the left, this is sort of the information that you can find when you click on a course title. So oftentimes, if you run into an error message when you try to add a course, the answer to why maybe you got an error message is likely found here. So you can click on, co-requisites or prerequisites or restrictions, and generally that's where you'll find the answer to your question, or the answer to why you received an error message when you tried to add a course. So make sure you remember to use your resources as you're kind of running into any bumps in the road as you register. And then there's another error message that you may get, and it may tell you closed section. So that just means that before you were able to add the course, somebody else sort of snagged a seat and filled the class. And so there are no remaining seats available. We always tell students to be prepared with backup courses identified before your registration window opens, just in case something like this happens, or in case, maybe you accidentally chose two classes that meet at the same time or overlap by 15 minutes. Well, the system's not going to let you register. So anyways, just planning to have backups prepared for when your registration window opens is really, really important. So make sure that before your windows open, you've got your five sort of preferred courses, and then a small handful of backups ready to go, just in case the courses that you really wanted end up filling up. So I mentioned we were going to talk about the withdrawal deadline. I know we talk about this in all of our FYE 101 academic advising presentations, but we do that because it's very, very important date for you all to know about. So this Friday, October 8th, is the last day to withdraw from a course without impact to your GPA. So you're limited to how many times you can do this while you're a student at UNCG, but if you are in a course and you feel very confident that it is unlikely, mathematically impossible maybe, for you to pass a course, you may want to consider withdrawing from the class. So we always encourage students to speak with advisors prior to withdrawing from courses. If you're thinking about it, get in touch with us ASAP. So that could be you just emailing your assigned advisor directly, or you can take advantage of our drop-in hours this week in the Students First office. We work really hard to make ourselves as available as possible, particularly around the withdrawal deadline, because we know students have lots of questions. So I've got the hours that we are offering drop-ins for the remainder of this week on the screen here. So tomorrow, 1 to 7 p.m., we've got a lengthy afternoon of drop-ins available to you all. And then Wednesday and Thursday, we're available from 1 to 4. And then Friday, we're available from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So you just go to students.uncg.edu and send us a web chat. And we have a person who is responding to chats during those hours above, really during all business hours, but who will get you in line to talk with an advisor. And when it's your turn, she will send you a link to a Zoom meeting where you can sit down and talk with an advisor, for 15 to 20 minutes. Make sure you get your questions answered about withdrawing from a course this semester.
And that chat is not a bot, it's a real person. So tell them as much info as they're asking for. It's an actual human being, not a bot.
We get lots of chats from students who just type like keywords in. It's a person replying to your chat. So a couple final reminders. Don't stress about registration. Your advisor's here to support you and help you work through your schedule for the upcoming term. So you'll get help in your FYE classes. You'll get help from your advisor in your registration advising appointment. And then when you register, if you run into problems that you can't figure out the solution to on your own, that's totally fine too. We have drop-ins every day, Monday through Friday from 1 to 4. So we can be available to help you troubleshoot any registration issues during drop-ins. You could always email your advisor directly. You could also send a chat on our website to Alana, our student support coordinator, and she can answer questions for you as well. Second reminder, advising codes must be obtained through a virtual advising appointment with your exploratory advisor. So we always get requests from students to send them via email, or students ask us in a drop-in if we'll give them their advising codes, and we can't do that. You have to schedule a 45-minute appointment with your advisor where we know we'll have plenty of time to talk through everything, and we'll give you your advising code in that meeting. And then the last reminder is that the early bird gets the worm. The earlier you schedule, the more time you've got to plan, the more prepared you're going to be, probably the better your course selection will be. So I can't emphasize enough to schedule your advising appointments early. As I mentioned, our calendars in the Students First office, they have a tendency to fill up pretty quickly because students are really excited about getting registered for the upcoming term. So please act when your advisor tells you it's time to schedule. It's important that you go ahead and schedule. We want to be able to fit all of you in before your registration windows open, but we can only do that if none of our spots go unfilled. So we need you to schedule your appointments as early as possible. All right, that is all that I have. Angie, are there any questions in the chat that I can answer?
We got one question that says, when can I start to schedule?
When can you start to schedule your advising appointment? You should receive notice from your advisor this week, probably by Friday, telling you that their hours are out there and available for you to go ahead and snag a spot. So as early as this Friday, actually everyone's required to have their hours up by this Friday. So I would put it on my calendar to schedule on Friday, but you will also get plenty of reminders from your advisor. We're like sort of annoying about it, to be honest, because we want to make sure to get you all in. So we email a lot. When students don't act, we will email and email and email until you schedule. Any other questions in there, Angie? I'm seeing lots of chats come through, but I'm not sure if it's because they're directly to me or.
That was our only question so far. I put the DegreeWorks link in the chat for
Okay.
everyone, and the Friday, October 8th as should be the earliest you can schedule with your advisor in the chat too.
Great. Any other questions that we can answer for you all? I'm going to open my chat to make sure that I don't have. Ooh. All right. So I think that's all the questions from the chat. If you all come up with additional questions after this session today, please visit us during drop-ins. Let me put those hours back on the screen. So Tuesday, tomorrow, we've got them from 1 to 7, Wednesday 1 to 4, Thursday 1 to 4, Friday 9 to 4. So questions, concerns about anything, please come and talk with us. We are available to help you. Just let us know how we can. Thank you guys. Have a good one.